Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl 2003 movie review. Since the death of Robert Newton, the definitive Long John Silver in Disney's Treasure Island 50 years ago, we have been waiting for a modern pirate film featuring someone who, in all seriousness, actually says the words, or perhaps the two-syllable single word, aha. Geoffrey Rush, playing the villainous, pop-eyed Sea Dog Barbossa in this enjoyable romp, gives it his best shot, a phlegmy gargle of rage. A pleasing note of ancestor worship. Earlier though, someone shouts the word avast at a bunch of mutinous tars and everyone just giggles. The pirate genre isn't easy to revive without traces of irony, like traces of tin in a phony doubloon. Jerry Bruckheimer produces and Gore Verbinski directs, that safest of safe pairs of hands who brought us The Ring and The Mexican. Between them they have come up with a very entertaining and unpretentious pirate picture inspired by the Disney theme park ride. Invented in 1967, now available at Florida and Disneyland Paris and considered the granddaddy of dark rides, the dramatized quasi-narrative attraction. At 13 minutes, you can actually have more than 10 goes on it in the time it takes to watch this movie, a pretty lengthy 2.25 hours. Trapped inside the 143 minutes of Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, a movie that charms the audience and then outstays its welcome. Although the ending leaves open the possibility of a sequel, the movie feels like it already includes the sequel. Maybe that explains the double-barreled title. It's a good thing that Geoffrey Rush and Johnny Depp are on hand to jack up the acting department. Their characters, two world-class goofballs, keep us interested even during entirely pointless sword fights. Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl is a 2003 American fantasy swashbuckler film directed by Gore Verbinski and the first film in the Pirates of the Caribbean film series. Produced by Walt Disney Pictures and Jerry Bruckheimer, the film is based on Walt Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean attraction at Disney theme parks. The story follows pirate Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp and blacksmith Walt Orlando Bloom as they rescue the kidnapped Elizabeth Swann, Keira Knightley from the cursed crew of the Black Pearl. Captained by Hector Barbossa, Geoffrey Rush, who become undead skeletons in moonlight. Jay Walpert developed a script in 2001, and Stuart Beattie rewrote it in early 2002. Around that time, producer Jerry Bruckheimer became involved in the project. He had Ted Elliott and Terry Rozier work on the script, adding the plot device of a supernatural curse to the story to bring it in line with the original theme park ride. Filming took place from October 2002 to March 2003 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and on sets constructed around Los Angeles, California. It was also notable for being the first film released under the Walt Disney Pictures banner to be rated PG-13 by the MPAA. The film's world premiere was held at Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California on June 28, 2003. Despite low expectations, the film was a huge box office success, grossed $654.3 million worldwide, making it the fourth highest grossing film of 2003. It received generally positive reviews from critics, with Depp's performance receiving universal acclaim. The film has been widely cited as the film that launched Depp as a box office leading man after many years as a cult movie star. Depp won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Leading Role, in addition to Best Actor nominations at the Academy Awards, BAFTAs, and Golden Globes. The Curse of the Black Pearl was also nominated for 4 other Academy Awards and BAFTAs. The film became the first in a franchise, with 2 back-to-back sequels, Dead Man's Chest and At World's End, released in 2006 and 2007. 2 more sequels, On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales, were released in 2011 and 2017, respectively. Now I'm explaining movie plot. In 1720, while sailing to Port Royal, Jamaica aboard HMS Dauntless, Governor Weatherby Swan, his daughter Elizabeth and crew encounter a shipwreck and recover a boy, Will Turner. Elizabeth discovers a golden pirate medallion around his neck, and takes it. 8 years later, Lieutenant James Norrington is promoted to Commodore and proposes to Elizabeth. Her corset makes her faint and fall into the sea, causing the medallion to emit a pulse. Captain Jack Sparrow, having just arrived in Port Royal to commandeer a ship, rescues Elizabeth. Norrington identifies Jack as a pirate, and a chase ensues. Jack encounters Will, now a blacksmith. They duel, and Jack is imprisoned. That night, the Black Pearl attacks Port Royal, searching for the medallion. The crew of the Pearl captures Elizabeth, taking her to meet Captain Barbossa. Elizabeth claims her last name is Turner to conceal her identity as the governor's daughter. Barbossa explains that the medallion is one of 882 gold pieces that his crew took from a treasure of Hernan Cortés on Isla de Muerta. This cursed Barbossa and his crew, turning them into immortals who appear skeletal in moonlight. Barbossa and his crew have returned all but one of the pieces, with Elizabeth's medallion being the final piece. Barbossa takes her prisoner, believing she is the daughter of William Bootstrap Bill Turner, whose blood is needed to lift the curse. Will frees Jack to rescue Elizabeth, whom Will loves. Jack, the previous captain of the Black Pearl before Barbossa staged a mutiny, makes a deal with Will to reclaim his ship. The two commandeer HMS Interceptor, a small sloop of war, and head for Tortuga. There, Jack enlists Gibbs to help them assemble a crew. Chasing the Pearl to the Isla de Muerta, Will and Jack witness Barbossa sacrificing Elizabeth's blood and returning the final gold piece. The curse is not lifted because Elizabeth does not carry the blood of Bootstrap Bill, Will's father, and a previous crewmate of the Pearl. Will rescues Elizabeth and brings her to the Interceptor, while Jack is captured by Barbossa and locked in the brig of the Pearl. The Pearl pursues the Interceptor, destroying the ship and taking Jack's crew hostage. Will makes a deal with Barbossa to release Elizabeth in exchange for his blood, but Barbossa exploits a loophole in the agreement, marooning Jack and Elizabeth on an island. Elizabeth makes a smoke signal, and Norrington brings the Dauntless to rescue Elizabeth and arrest Jack. Elizabeth asks Norrington to pursue the Pearl and save Will, convincing him by accepting Norrington's marriage proposal. That night, the Dauntless arrives at Isla de Muerta. Jack tells Norrington he will lure the pirates out to be ambushed by the crew of the Dauntless, but instead persuades Barbossa's crew to attack the Dauntless before they lift the curse and lose their immortality. Elizabeth escapes the Dauntless and frees Jack's crew from the brig of the Pearl. They refuse to rescue Jack and Will, so Elizabeth sets out on her own while Jack's crew depart aboard the Pearl. Jack again switches sides, freeing Will and dueling Barbossa, while Elizabeth and Will fight off Barbossa's crewmen. When Barbossa stabs Jack, it is revealed that Jack took a piece of gold from the chest and is likewise cursed and unable to die. Jack shoots Barbossa, and Will returns both coins to the chest with his and Jack's blood on them. The curse is lifted, Barbossa dies from Jack's gunshot, and the rest of Barbossa's crew, no longer immortal, are arrested. At Port Royal, Jack is to be hanged for piracy. Elizabeth diverts Norrington's attention while Will attempts a rescue, but Jack and Will are surrounded. Elizabeth intercedes and declares her love for Will. Governor Swan pardons Will and gives his blessing for Elizabeth to marry him. Jack dives into the sea and escapes aboard the nearby Pearl, reclaiming the ship and his new crew. Norrington permits Jack and the Pearl one day's head start before initiating pursuit. However, on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl has an approval rating of 80% based on 220 reviews, and an average rating of 7.11 out of 10. The site's critical consensus reads, "It may leave you exhausted like the theme park ride that inspired it, however, you'll have a good time when it's over." At Metacritic, which assigns a weighted average rating to reviews, the film received an average score of 63 out of 100, based on reviews from 40 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews.